Hi, my name is Natalie Llerena, and I played Destiny in Salvage at the Hudson Theater. If you want to learn more, listen to it here. My first experience with the theater was in second grade, and I was cast as the Ugly Duckling in the Ugly Duckling in our mini musical. And the story has it nobody had ever introduced acting to me, nothing like that. I don't think I necessarily had a bug, but for whatever reason I went on stage and everyone went, how does she know how to do that? And I didn't grow up with, artistic parents in their own sense, but they're not artists per se. So it was something that was just natural for me, and instantly felt like home. And since second grade, it was always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to do it, growing up in those more formative years, and my parents didn't feel like that was healthy. I grew up in Virginia, DC area. So it wasn't necessarily like the most normal thing, opposed to like if you grow up in Los Angeles or New York, the vocabulary that those places have, we just didn't have that where I was. But once I got older, I fell in love with the DC theater scene, and that was sort of my outlet. And it just has always been a part of me. I would say my love for theater or acting turned into more of an obsession when I was about 12 years old. After so many years of begging to do it, my parents allowed me to start taking classes. And that's when I started to read, Chekhov and learn about Stanislavski and learn about these methods. And at a really young age, I was really fascinated by what comes with acting is like the ability to manipulate your own feelings and to kind of mess with the human psyche in a bit of a way. And I think that was the thing that really made me obsessive about it, because it wasn't just about performing anymore. It was about getting yourself to believe something in circumstances that weren't necessarily real, and finding how these things that these people and characters and the stories they're telling, what they're going through, how it resonates in you. So I think that's when it started to become sort of an obsession. The theater experience is such a unique experience. And I think it's because of the energetic exchange. I was just talking about this the other day with friends about how, you do film, and there's just such a different thing that happens when there's an audience who's reacting, and you can feel their investment in what's happening and the journey that you're on, and you can feel them going on a journey with you. I think that's like the most magical and crazy transformative thing about theater, both for the audience and for the actor, that you're going through like a very human experience together. It's not just sitting in a movie theater and watching something play back, watching someone else's experience. An audience member is involved in the experience and they inform the experience. It's actually quite collaborative. So I think that's really the main thing. My process in becoming a character in a play, first, when getting a script, I get into it by seeing what parts of the play resonate with me, why it speaks to me. And then in terms of becoming character, for me, it's a nightly process. So before the show, I always meditate to try to ground myself. I warm up my instrument, I warm up my voice. And I think that in these places where we kind of bring ourselves down to neutral is where we're able to allow the story to flow through us like we're a vessel. I think it's really important, like as soon as you put your costume on, it totally informs how you feel. For example, in Salvage, I wear a pregnancy belly, and at first, costume is so important. I was wearing a blow up belly, so like kind of a balloon essentially. And I just felt like I needed something that was heavier. So I felt the weight of, a baby, and I could have something that informed how I walked and informed how, these things that are hanging off of me, how they actually make me feel. So it's very visceral to me. So I try to focus on the visceral. I try to focus on what parts of the story affect me. And I leave it up to chance after that, I would say. I learned about this play. I got an audition for my agent, and I read the script. And I'll say I come from a deep love of musical theater. If someone said, "You're going to die today, what do you want to do?" It would be perform in a big musical and sing that, end of the first act number. That's 100% my dreams. But I absolutely love straight theater as well. And I love storytelling that's simple. And there's something so exciting about a play that incorporates music. Music is so informative in our everyday life. If we're sad, we turn something on. If we're happy, we listen to something. If we're walking through the grocery store and a song is on, it will remind us of something. So to be in a play that is so driven by song is very exciting. So that was one of the first things I absolutely loved about the piece. And I loved the idea of getting to play a dreamer. I do a lot of really dramatic acting work, and something I kind of put into the universe and something I was hoping for since, the last year, especially, was working on projects that are a little lighter, that I don't walk away from every night feeling so heavy. And Salvage was totally a gift. When I read the character, I thought, wow, it's so nice. She's such a hopeful person. It would feel good on my body to get to have that experience every night rather than something like really tragic. Without giving anything too much away, the four characters in Salvage are myself and my husband, Harley, who is a dreamer, a struggling musician, and I am a very pregnant lady, and he is planning to get rid of his guitar and give up his dreams to support our family. And there's some really fun dynamics within that. It's very relatable for me as a young person, an actress. You think all the times, should I stop doing this? This is so hard. Will I find the success that I want? And I find Harley's struggle to be really relatable. So you've got this guy who's a musician and he's giving up on his dreams. And then I play a character that's there to build him up and tell him that what he is and who he is who he's supposed to be. And that's the reason that I fell in love with him. And that's the type of man that I want our child to be inspired by growing up. And then you have the bartender, Johnson, who he's been working at this establishment. It was his father's bar for several years. And you've got the preacher who has really kind of fallen into the slum of life and has gotten really stuck in his ways. And you see how talented he is. And you see that there was a time where there was hope for him. And you watch the preacher and Johnson, who's the bartender, essentially, they have a long history with one another. And in the play, they butt heads and they learn and they rehash old things. And ultimately, it's just a very hopeful piece, despite any darkness in it, which is really, really just lovely. So the amazing music and songwriters, several parts of our show are written by Mark Hurd, the songs, who, I might get this wrong, but our playwright was a dear friend of his, and he took the songs and built a story around his beautiful music. A lot of his songs are just like poetry. It sounds like if you're just reading it off the page, it sounds like Shakespeare almost. Just so beautiful and so poetic. Melody, catchy, it's all in all, just such good music. And I also believe our playwright, Tim, there's a song in there that he wrote too. And it was to connect a storyline, but majority of the music is Mark Hurd. So some things about my fellow actors and our director. I'll start with David Atkinson, who plays I don't know if I'm allowed to say, he plays Preacher. And I just absolutely love working with him. He is such a soulful actor. Looking at him in his eyes during the latter half of the play, for me, he's so easy to connect to. He's very much a very open vessel. Leonard, who plays Johnson, I wish that I got to say more than a couple lines to him on stage, because I absolutely love listening to him work backstage. He's just such a powerhouse. I wish that I had more interaction with him, because it feels like he'd be so fun to work with and play with. And then Sam, who plays my husband, the part of the play that I love the most with Sam is getting to sing a little duet with him. He's just so much fun to sing with and harmonize with, and he has such an incredible voice. And I always feel like that little chunk of the play, it's just such a fun way to connect. When you can't talk, you sing. When you can't sing, you dance. And it's nice because it comes at a part in the play where I don't know what we would say next. And it's a nice way to just get it all out to sing with him. And he's just such a fun actor to work with. He's really been my buddy throughout the process. And then Damien, our director, he's been an unbelievable collaborator. He's given us lots of opportunity to share our thoughts and talk, and given us space to explore, which you don't always get that with the director. So it's very exciting. It's just such a cool crew of people. Everybody is really loving and warm, wonderful, wonderful crew. I want the audience to walk away from the play with hope. I want them to walk away feeling like, dreams are hard, and that is part of dreaming. I think a lot of times we associate the word dream with something that maybe would come easier. It's kind of a magical word. And I think the hard things are actually what make when dreams come true, or even when dreams change. I think those are the most important parts, the hard parts, because they make the reward so much greater, and they make the journey so much more interesting when we have these goals and these things that bring us joy, and watching them morph throughout our life. I know that I've had dreams that have changed in all different types of ways as I've gotten older. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. So while I'm performing this play, what I'm looking for as an actor is sort of what I'm looking for most of the times when I get on stage, which is to connect with the people I am talking to, and really feel like we're hearing one another speak. That's the coolest thing about acting to me, that you're saying somebody else's lines, but they're your own, and that you're actually feeling and reacting in this imaginary world with another person who you have this imaginary relationship with, which is just so crazy. And then the thing that, I don't know if it's superficial or not, but the thing that I walk away after a show that determines whether or not I feel like it's a good show or a bad show actually has a lot to do with if I can feel like the audience is engaged. So it's tricky when you're on stage, you kind of have to forget about all of that. Because they can feel it if you want them to pay attention to you, actually. It's a tricky little game. So to walk away where you go, okay, I'm walking out on stage and I'm letting go of any expectations. I'm not going to have, be listening or watching from the outside, which can happen. And you get off stage and you feel like, whoa, they were with me. That's the best feeling. People should come to the production of Salvage because after a year of being inside and not getting to see live storytelling, I think it will truly invigorate them. It is such an exciting, it gives you adrenaline to go see a show. I feel like it's so important to have, theater is an ancient art that is dying. And not just Salvage, any play, go see it, keep it alive as long as possible. But I think people should come see Salvage because it's so exciting to see both live music and a play happening at once. And it does at times feel like you're in like a living room listening to other people sing. It's not like just an old school musical where people are putting on the glitz and the glam. It's really people sitting around and making music and talking. And I think that it's a really wonderful, visceral experience that everyone should come hang out with us. After this long break of not getting to be in the theater, I'm a super, super lucky actress, and I work very hard to constantly be working. If I'm not in a show, that's not true. If I'm in a show, I'll be rehearsing a show at the same time. I'm a crazy person, and I've been very lucky to do that for several years now. So to get back on my feet and be back on stage just feels like I'm back at home. This past year, like a huge part of me was missing because the chance to get on stage and tell story and change people's minds or make them think. That's the hope. I think that's a very powerful thing. And I truly missed it so much. I always go, I can't imagine my life without it. And I did experience my life without it for a year. So I'm so grateful to be back on stage and get to share this with people. What's so unique about the story, the first thing that really is so unique that I have already kind of hit on is you don't oftentimes get a play that has music in it that just builds the piece. That's a really, really unique thing. And I think it's a really hard thing to do. I've been in productions that try to do it, and it sort of just feels cheesy or inauthentic, or, it doesn't quite hit the mark. And I think that this show does a really, really good job of combining the two. And I think it's extremely unique and rare to find a piece that's good at that. I think Tim did a pretty good job with his first script. I think anybody who wrote that as their first script should be pretty damn proud. Yeah, I would love to be in other pieces of Tim's. I think that he really surprises me sometimes because some of the conversations, they feel like, I don't want to say mundane because that sounds like it's boring. I think mundane means boring, but they feel like everyday conversations. But then he'll drop these little bombs and you think, whoa, that was so philosophical. Like, whoa, that was a really strong opinion about something that I didn't even think of. I think that Tim is very poetic. And I think that's another really special thing about his writing and storytelling, that he is able to, again, combine some really complex stuff with some really simple stuff, and it doesn't feel forced. I think that's really unique. If he wrote more, I would hope that is what I would see in his work. I think that that would be a true signature of his writing. Small theaters are so important to every community. I think that small theaters are really special because intimate theater is kind of like peering into a tiny window. I think that you oftentimes, in small theaters, you're seeing work that is not being shown to the public. So generally the stories that are told there are more specific and unique, and stories that you don't generally see as much on TV or in, these big box office theater shows. I think that it's really important and really informative, and it gives the opportunity for more artists and people to share their voice, and to just experience things that are other than, what is commercially friendly. That's been my favorite thing about being part of small intimate theater. Hi, my name is Natalie Llerena. I play Destiny in Salvage at the Hudson Theater. We run until November 14th on Fridays and Saturdays at 8 and Sundays at 3. We would love to see you there.